Now, this is chapter 2. I have no idea what I'm gonna do now. Yep, I gotta figure out what to do. Of course. I have no idea, Vigily. I know, why? If I assume, Vigily. Of course. Yeah? I know, it's supposed not to happen. If I assume. I have no idea. So, you didn't know this? Yep. Okay. If I was gonna know this, knew this was supposed to happen. Yep. It's a little bit familiar. How do you know this? I was gonna know this. Eventually. Of course. I know. If I assume eventually. Because I was gonna know this from earlier. Yeah. Of course. I know, definitely. If I can see him visually. Of course. Knew this was supposed to happen. Yep. And how do you know this? I don't know yet. If it was getting some bad years. Right, of course. I knew this was supposed to happen. Yeah? I know, definitely. If I could see it visually. If I have no idea. I was trying to visually. If I could see him. Yep. And how do you know this? I don't know yet. If I could assume visually. Of course, I knew this was supposed to happen. Yeah. Of course, knew this was supposed to happen. Before I know this. So you can assume? Yes, if I could assume visually. Of course. If I could assume. I know why. I can assume visually. Of course. I know. If I was getting some bad years. If I could assume. Of course. I know. It's supposed not to happen. Definitely. So you can assume? Yep. Okay. I guess I was gonna know this. Of course. I knew this was supposed to happen. Yep. It's a little bit familiar. Right. So you can assume? Yep. Of course. I knew this was supposed to happen. Before we know this. Right. Of course. I know. It's supposed to happen. Right. And how do you know this? I know yet. Of course. Knew this was supposed to happen. Yep. If I was getting some bad years. Of course. Knew this was supposed to happen. Meow. Of course. I know, why? Yep, if I could assume visually. Of course. Meow. I could assume visually. I know, why? Of course. Meow. If I could assume visually. Yep. If I could assume. Of course. Meow. I know, why? So you can assume? Yep. Of course. You have no idea, right? Well, not yet, definitely. Of course. Knew this was supposed to happen. Yep. Okay. If I could